Ex-convict reveals how prison gangs really operate. The blood test. Sound of heavy breathing. The echo of metal doors slamming. A man's voice, calm but cold. Narrator, ex-convict, voiceover. I remember the day they tested me. They called it the blood test. I had to prove I was loyal, not with words, but with blood. They gave me a choice, either handle a job or get handle myself. He pauses. You want to know how prison gangs really operate? Then listen close. 'Cause it's not about colors or tattoos or respect. It's about power and fear. Cut the sound of shuffling chains, a cell door clanging shut. They told me to take out a guy from another tier. I didn't even know his name. But if I said no, I'd be next. That's how it works behind these walls. Music fades in low, gritty bass. Thing is, what they didn't tell me was that the man I was ordered to hurt used to be one of them. Fade to black. Want to know what happened next? The code of silence. Scene fades in a narrow prison tier, echoing footsteps. When I first came in, I thought minding my business would keep me safe. I was wrong. In prison, there's no such thing as minding your business. You're either with someone or you're against everyone. He chuckles bitterly. The first thing they teach you isn't how to fight. It's how to shut up. They call it the code. You don't talk. You don't ask. You don't tell. Flashback. Cafeteria noise. Trays clanking. One guy got jumped during chow time, right in front of everyone. Nobody said a word. Even the guards looked the other way. That's when I learned silence is survival. Cut to narrator in his cell, voice lower. But silence comes at a price. Sound, distant yelling, then sudden quiet. That night, I heard someone get dragged from his bunk. He was gone before morning. The rumor was he broke the code. He sighs. That's when I met Spider. He ran one of the biggest crews inside. He told me, you keep your mouth shut, you might make it. You open it, you won't. Soft background tone builds tension. I thought he was helping me. But Spider wasn't protecting me. He was recruiting me. Beat. Extreme event. One night, he left a razor under my pillow, wrapped in toilet paper. No note, no words. Just a message. I wasn't whether I liked it or not. Spider's lesson. Prison yard, midday. Voices echo off concrete. Spider said everything in prison runs on three things: fear, favors, and food. You control those, you control the yard. He laughs quietly. I thought he was exaggerating, till I saw it myself. Scene shift to the yard. Men trading snacks, cigarettes, soap. A ramen pack is money in here. A honey bun is a loan. A lighter? That's credit. And when someone owes, it's not interest they pay. It's skin. Brief pause. One dude, they called him Fresh, owed a pack of smokes. Just one, but he didn't pay. Spider made him clean the showers for a week as punishment. Next week, Fresh disappeared. Word was, he got sent to the infirmary with 2 broken ribs. All over a debt smaller than $1. Cut to narration tone, grim, calm. That's when I realized gangs don't just run the fights. They run the economy. Every transaction, every favor, every guard that looks the other way, it all flows back to them. Beat. But then Spider told me something that froze my blood. Extreme event. He said, tomorrow you collect the next debt yourself. If he refuses, you make an example. Music cuts, silence, then a slow heartbeat sound. The debt job. Scene, dim cell, whispering voices. That night, I couldn't sleep. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't a killer. But in here, your fear smells like weakness, and weakness gets you hurt. I thought maybe I could talk my way out. Maybe if I paid the debt for the guy myself, Spider would let it go. But that's not how it works. Sound. Door opens. Guards yelling yard time. When I got to the yard, they already had the guy surrounded. He was old, small, maybe 50. They said he owed commissary to the wrong crew. Spider handed me a sharpened toothbrush. I said, what do you want me to do with this? He said, earn your colors. Music rises, slow drumbeat. I froze. Then Spider leaned in and said, If you don't, we'll collect 2 debts instead of 1. The narrator's breathing grows heavy. That's when I did it. Not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to live. Extreme event. The man screamed once, just once. Then it was over. The guards came late, like they always do. I dropped the weapon in the drain and walked away. Pause. Spider patted my shoulder and said, "Now you're one of us." But all I felt was sick. Power and punishment. Sound. Prison sirens blaring. After that day, things changed. I had protection now. But protection comes with orders. I was moving contraband, hiding blades, even delivering messages with shot callers. Cut to montage. Guards turning blind eyes, inmates trading. Spider didn't run the gang. He was just a face. The real power came from the ones in segregation. The guys locked in solitary for decades. They sent out orders like generals in a war. Everything, from who eats first to who sleeps where, came from a tiny cell behind a steel door. He pauses. I started to see the pattern. Gangs weren't just fighting the system. They were the system. They controlled peace and chaos both. Extreme event. One night, a riot broke out. It wasn't random. It was planned. A message from the top sent through Spider, and I was in the middle of it. The day the yard turned red. Alarm sirens, chaos, shouting. It started with a tray getting thrown in the chow hall. Then fists. Then blades. Within seconds, the whole place exploded. I ducked under a table. Saw a Spider on the other side, blood on his arm, yelling orders. He wasn't scared. He was smiling. Guards stormed in with shields and gas. Smoke everywhere. I heard someone screaming my name, but when I turned, Spider was gone. Silence. They said later he got transferred to another facility. Some say he's dead. Some say he runs the same crew from solitary now. Me? I think he never left. His rules still run that place. He exhales deeply. I thought leaving prison would free me, but I still hear his voice. Fear, favors, and food. That's how you control men. Soft music swells. And maybe he was right. Outside, but never free. Sound. City traffic. A bus door closes. The narrator exhales as the wind blows. When those gates open, I thought I was done. Thought the noise, the rules, the fear, all of it would stay behind. But it doesn't work like that. Prison follows you. It's in your walk, your stare, even your silence. I stepped off that bus with $47 and a paper bag. But I still had the gang's mark on me, invisible but loud. Every ex-con knows it. You can't hide where you've been. Cut the sound of ringing cell phone. 3 days after I got out, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A voice said, "Spider says you still owe him a favor." Music drops to silence. I froze. He was supposed to be gone. But inside those walls, orders move like ghosts, no matter where you run. The street tax. Scene, dim motel room. Narrator pacing. They wanted me to collect money for them on the outside. Said it was for protection fees from old inmates who ran businesses now. They called it street tax. At first, I ignored the calls. But then a friend of mine, another ex-inmate, turned up in the hospital, beaten bad. No wallet. Just a message carved on his arm. Pay your debt. I knew what that meant. The gangs inside still control guys outside. Their reach didn't stop at the wall. It spread into neighborhoods, halfway houses, even parole officers. I called the number back. I said, "I'm out. Leave me alone." The voice laughed and said, "You're never out, homie. You're just on the other side of the fence." Extreme event. The next morning, someone slid a photo under my motel door, me, walking home from work. Same street, same jacket. No note, just the picture. The informant. Sound. Whispering voices, faint ticking clock. That's when I made the hardest choice of my life. I went to the one place no gang member ever goes, the feds. They didn't trust me at first. They never do. I had to prove I wasn't setting them up. So I told them how the system works, how orders flow from solitary cells, coded through letters commissary lists, and even Bible verses. They already knew some of it, but not all. Not the structure, not the names. He exhales. I gave them Spider's network. Names of crews operating through family members, fake charities, even guard accounts. It was all there. But in prison, snitches don't live long. And out here, they just disappear quieter. Extreme event. One night, someone fired shots through my apartment window. Missed me by inches. The message was clear. I wasn't invisible anymore. The truth they don't tell you. Soft piano fades in. City lights outside the window. You want to know how prison gangs really operate? It's not about violence. It's about control. They control time, fear, even hope. They take a man's mind and make it theirs. Inside, you do what they say to stay alive. Outside, you do what they say to stay breathing. That's the game. That's the truth. I used to think gangs were just groups of criminals. But they're more like governments, small, ruthless governments that run their own world, with their own rules, their own currency, their own justice. He sighs. I'm free now, technically. But every time a car slows down behind me, every time a block number calls, I still think of Spider. Because, in the end, once you've been owned by fear, freedom doesn't feel real anymore. Extreme event. One day, I found a razor blade in my mailbox, wrapped in toilet paper. Same way Spider used to send messages inside. No note, just a reminder. The final lesson. Sound. Slow rain. Footsteps on concrete. I live clean now. No gang. No crimes. I talk to kids at schools, try to stop them from ending up like me. But I still hear the echoes of that place. The clang of metal doors. The whispers in the dark. They ask me, what's the hardest part of prison? I tell them, it's not the fights, not the food, not the walls. It's the fact that even when you leave, it never leaves you. He pauses. Soft rain continues. Spider once told me, fear, favors, and food, that's how you control men. But he forgot one thing. Beat, truth, that's how you take control back. And that's why I'm telling you this. Music swells, hopeful, tense. If you're thinking about that life, don't. There's no glory, no loyalty, no freedom. Just silence, blood, and ghosts that follow you forever. The documentary trap. Sound. Faint camera clicks, crew voices adjusting lights. Months pass since the shooting. I kept a low profile, used fake names online, new apartment, new job. I thought I was finally invisible again. Then a journalist found me. She said she was doing a documentary about prison gangs, wanted the truth from the inside. I said no at first, but she wasn't like the others. She'd done real time, not in prison, but in the system, reporting from Rikers, Pelican Bay, ADX Florence. She understood. Sound, microphone crackle, camera rolling. She promised anonymity, said they'd blur my face, distort my voice. I agreed. I thought maybe telling the truth could finally cut the chain Spider had on me. But I didn't know Spider's people were watching too. The interview. Studio lights hum. The room feels tense. She asked me questions nobody outside could have known about the codes, the ranks, the way orders move through kites and commissary lists. She even asked about Spider. I froze. She shouldn't have known that name. Sound. Heartbeat rises. I asked her, who told you about him? She smiled and said, someone who still respects you. Silence. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a documentary. It was bait. She wasn't working for the news. She was working for them. The gang wanted to know if I'd turned. And I walked right into their setup. Extreme event. The next morning, the studio van exploded. They said it was an accident, but I saw the scorch marks. It wasn't random. The message behind the fire. Sirens in the distance. News anchor faintly reporting explosion. They didn't need to kill me. Just scare me. That's how the gangs really keep control. Not through bullets, but through reminders. I packed a bag and vanished. Changed states. New identity again. But every time I checked my mailbox, I half expected another message. Another razor blade wrapped in toilet paper. He exhales, slow and heavy. People think when you leave prison, you leave the gang. But you don't. You just trade one cell for another. This one has windows. Music slows, hauntingly calm. I started recording everything. Phone calls, shadows I saw twice, cars I parked too long. I wasn't paranoid. I was preparing. Because if I disappeared, I wanted the world to know the truth. Extreme event. One night, I found my old prison number scratched into my car door, the same number Spider used to write on my locker inside. Delete. Sound. Typing on keyboard, faint radio static. I sent the recordings to a contact in London. He was an ex-prison guard turned whistleblower. He ran an underground channel exposing corruption inside correctional facilities. I told him, if anything happens to me, release everything. He said, you have my word. But a week later, his channel went dark. Deleted. No trace. Then, a new video appeared under the same name. Same logo, same voice, but not his. Someone else had taken it over. They uploaded my footage, edited, my words twisted. Instead of exposing Spider, they made it look like I was working for him. Extreme event. That clip hit 2 million views in 24 hours. And suddenly, the gangs weren't the only ones after me. Now, the feds thought I was back in business. The confrontation. Scene. Parking garage. Echoes. Footsteps. I couldn't take it anymore. I called the old number, the one that used to connect me to Spider's people. No answer. Just a voicemail. Then, 3 days later, I got a text. Meet me where it started. Sound. Footsteps. Dripping water. Faint hum of prison lights. I went back to the old county facility where I first met him. It was abandoned now. Shut down for years. But the gates were still there. Same smell of metal and dust. He breathes out, nervous. In the middle of the yard, a man was waiting. Same tattoo. Same cold eyes. Spider? I asked. He smiled. You finally learned, little brother. You can't expose what's already everywhere. Extreme event. He handed me a phone. On the screen, a live video feed. My apartment. My car. My face. He said, we own the story now. The live betrayal. Sound. Newsroom chatter. Cameras clicking, microphone hum. I had two choices, run again or fight back. And this time, I was tired of running. So when a major news network reached out for an interview about gang rehabilitation, I said yes. But I didn't tell them who I really was. Not at first. They wanted a former inmate to talk about change behind bars. They didn't know the truth I was about to drop on live TV. Cut to studio ambience, countdown beeps. The host smiled, asked me how I turned my life around. I looked straight at the camera and said, you think prison gangs die inside the walls? They don't. They move through your phones, your guards, your streets, and your government. Beat. Studio falls silent. Extreme event. I named Spider. On air. First and last name. I told the world everything. The blood test, the rackets, the coded messages, the deaths they covered up. The producer tried to cut to commercial. But I'd already locked the feed, sent it through a VPN with 10 mirrors online. Even if they stopped the broadcast, the video would live forever. The aftermath. Sound. Phones ringing, alarms, reporters shouting. The world exploded. Within hours, federal agents raided multiple prisons. Dozens of guards were suspended. They traced Spider's network across 3 states. For a moment, I thought I'd finally won. But then my phone buzzed. No caller ID. Just one sentence. You think we needed Spider? Soft hum of tension grows. They were right. Spider wasn't the top. He was the face. There were others, men who'd never even seen a cell, who ran operations through charities, trucking companies, and construction contracts tied to the prison system. He sighs. That's the real machine. Spider was a cog, and I'd only cracked the surface. Extreme event. The next day, the journalist who first contacted me, the one I thought was fake, was found dead. Car crash. But I know what it really was. The return. Sound. Rain hitting concrete, heavy breathing. I knew they'd come for me, so I went back to the one place they wouldn't expect, prison. I volunteered to enter witness protection, but that's just another word for hiding. Instead, I offered to testify in exchange for protection inside a federal facility. Back in those same cold halls, everything looked smaller, but the fear, it felt the same. He chuckles darkly. When word got around that I was back, they called me a dead man walking. But no one touched me, because deep down they knew I'd burn the whole house down. Extreme event. One night, a guard slipped a note under my door. It read, "They're coming. Tomorrow. The longest night." Sound. Clanging metal doors. Alarm in the distance. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the shadow under my door. Every sound, every shuffle felt like the last. Hours passed. Nothing. Then, around 3 a.m., I heard it. A hiss. Gas leaking through the vent. My eyes started burning. I hit the floor, crawled to the corner. Someone was trying to finish the job. I stuffed wet towels under the door, tried to breathe through my shirt. The gas stopped after a minute, but the message was clear. Extreme event. The next morning, I woke up to find a word written in dust on my mirror. Silence. The last word. Sound. Calm ambient music. The faint hum of prison lights. I was transferred again, placed in a federal safe house. The raids kept going. Spider's name disappeared from the news, replaced by new ones, higher ones. They said the investigation was successful, that justice was served. But inside, I know the truth. Soft sigh. Prison gangs aren't just gangs. They're systems. Systems built on fear, silence, and money. And until that changes, there'll always be another Spider. I'm still here, telling my story. Not for fame, not for pity, but because truth is the only weapon they can't control. Final extreme event. 1 week ago, I got another envelope. No razor this time. Just 3 words. We're still watching. Beat of silence. So watch back, because if you're hearing this, you're part of the story now. Sound fades, metal door slams shut. The truth behind the walls. Soft, low drone fades in. The sound of distant thunder. A metal door echoes one last time. People always ask me why I still talk about it. Why I don't just forget and move on. But here's the truth. You don't forget something that changes what you are. You survive it and you make it mean something. Cut the faint sound of rain dripping through a leaking roof. Steady, rhythmic. In there, I learned how power works. It doesn't need bars. It doesn't need guns. It just needs fear and silence. And that's what prison gangs mastered. They turned silence into obedience, obedience into profit, and profit into power. Music builds slowly, a single haunting cello note beneath a rising hum. But every wall has cracks. Every system has a weakness. And that weakness is truth, not the kind you read in reports. The kind that bleeds, sweats, and whispers in the dark when nobody's supposed to hear it. Camera sound fades into faint heartbeats. I told this story because the world only sees what happens outside those walls, not what happens inside them, not the trades, the codes, the silent rules that turn men into weapons. I lived it, I carried it, and I'm still trying to wash it off. Brief pause. Thunder rolls softly. Spider once said, "Fear, favors, and food, that's how you control men." But he was wrong. Truth controls more than fear ever could, because once the truth is out there, it spreads. Cue rising cinematic music, deep bass and echoing choir tones. I can't take back what I did. I can't undo the people I hurt, but I can expose what they built, the system that still feeds on silence. So, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, remember one thing. Those walls don't just keep men in, they keep the world out. And the only way they fall is if enough people dare to look behind them. Music swells, slow motion sound of cell doors slamming shut, then fading into silence. Narrator, softly, almost a whisper. I was one of them once. Now, I'm just a voice that got out. And as long as I can still speak, I'll keep telling the truth.